everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bower. I'm Ryan Steffen, the Executive Director for Bower Center for the Arts in beautiful Bedford, Virginia. This podcast is all about inspiring conversations, exploring the arts in our community, and shining spotlights on the incredible individuals and organizations that make the Bedford County art scene so vibrant. This week is one of my favorite all-time art shows, and it is the Bedford County Public School High School Art Show, sponsored this year by the Bedford Area Educational Foundation. And this show highlights artists from all three of our local high schools, Stanton River High School, Liberty High School, and Jefferson Forest High School. It opens this week, will be in our galleries through Friday of next week. And I'm so excited today to welcome several guests from Jefferson Forest High School Art Department to talk to us a little bit about this show and this art. Welcome, everybody.
Hi. Hello.
Thanks for joining me today on your day off from school. You're out of school today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So you came to school anyway. We'll remember that in the future. All right. I'd love to take just a minute to start by going around the table and introducing ourselves. So Mayah, I'm going to start with you. I just want you to tell me a little bit about yourself, what kind of art you do, and maybe how you found art or how art found you.
I kind of just found it when I saw my brother's art, because he was really into anime and like dragons for a good while. And that is like when I started it, and I was just like, wow, I want to do that. And so from there, I was just like absentmindedly drawing until like I found art in like an art class in school.
Okay.
And so I was like, whoa, I can actually do this.
Yeah, I'm good at this. I like this.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Sam, introduce yourself for us.
I'm Sam. There isn't really a time where I got into art, but I've been into art since I was a kid. Like in elementary school, we would take art classes, and I would just enjoy creating in that environment. And yeah. Yeah,
great. And Ms. Tomkins.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Tomkins. I'm one of two art teachers at JF. This is my 12th year teaching at JF and my 22nd year teaching art at the high school level. At JF, I teach Art 2, Art 3, Art 4, Art 5, 3D 1, and 3D 2. My favorite art style is surrealism and actually abstract art. And the kind of media that I like to work with is painting and ceramics.
Great. Yeah. So I don't know if you all know, I'm a former high school teacher. So I actually was a high school theater teacher for 21 years before I moved here. So I understand that whole art side of the brain. While I'm not an artist, I am a set designer. So that would be, I would always tell people I create life-size 3-dimensional sculptures that I build, and then I rip them all back down after the show's done. I love talking to artists. I love talking to students. I think sometimes students have way more packed behind their eyes than everybody thinks they do. So I'm excited to talk to you all a little bit about just your art, yourselves as artists. So what I want to ask first is, why art? Why art?
Because I feel like it lends more through like expression of the brain, like where you can't like express things with words. You can just like put it in color or put it in like a sketch or something, like, and have people visually see what you're feeling or how you're thinking.
Do you feel like that works for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it also works for people who just don't know how to say something or like, yeah.
I think that's very insightful and thoughtful. How about you? Why art? You said it's been around in your life forever. So why?
Well, I think it allows people to, it allows a way to express yourself in a way and discover yourself. It allows them to show like a creative side of them, and it allows them to find like a tool for them to express their own self, and how to have like a way to enjoy life. Yeah.
So Sam, tell me a little bit more about your art. What kind of art do you like to do?
Oh, I love realism.
Okay.
I love enjoying working with charcoal and graphite. And I like challenge myself like that.
How do you challenge yourself with it?
I make everything harder on myself.
That's what artists do, right? And how about you, Mayah? What medium do you like to work in the best? What kind of art do you like to do?
I really like using markers. I'm really bad at it though. Like digital, and like also using markers on traditional. Once again, it's also really challenging, and I like making things harder on myself with both of them. because as much as I like doing them, I'm extremely not skilled at them at all.
Okay. You say you're not good at them. I'm going to rewind and say you're not good at them yet.
Yet.
Yet. You
I'm
just got to
trying.
work with it. And sometimes you find your individual voice through it. And what you think is not great, somebody else will look at. You know, it reminds me, I made this joke that when the middle school show was in last week, there was somebody, and I don't remember this artist's name, and I wish I did, who did a croissant out of alcohol markers that was waving. And I told somebody, I was like, if that was for sale, I would buy it. Like that piece brings me joy. When I look at it, I think it is joyful. I think it is thoughtful. And I hope that person knows that their art has that effect on other people.
Yeah.
So I know that you both probably create art for yourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, what do you like to explore when you're looking at yourself? What are you exploring through your art? Either one of you.
I have this thing where I just like don't know who I am, and so when I finish a piece, I'm just like, okay, so that's who I am because I expressed that on paper, and like I didn't know how I was feeling before, like while I was making it, but afterwards, I'm just like, okay, so that's where I was at the moment.
That's a huge. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. How about you?
I like expressing my health issues, actually.
Okay.
I have some sort of health issues. I have like scoliosis. I have a connective tissue disorder. And I like making little references in my works about that.
And there are probably people who can relate to that, that can empathize, who probably see that. You know, one thing I love about art is that, you know, obviously there is the story. There is the story that you're developing. There's the story that you're telling. But then there's also the story that your viewer brings to the piece as well. You know, so they're going to look at it and they're going to infuse what they know in their own life and what they can connect with what you know. And what kind of happens is this collective story that the artist and the patron kind of create together. I love one of the things that you said is you didn't know what you thought until you put it down. That was one of my favorite phrases as a teacher. Is I also taught English. So I taught theater and English. And I would tell my students all the time, you don't know what you're thinking until you write it down or say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you all to feel safe enough to think that nothing you say is dumb and nothing that you write is wrong, because it's what you're thinking in the moment. And I feel like that has been the encouragement you've gotten in your artwork as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, what I said about it's an expression of those who can't, like, speak for themselves. Like, I just don't know words very well. I don't know why, but I don't. And so when I see it on the paper or, like, afterwards, I'm just like, okay, I got this, yeah.
So you know lines and you know color and you know a
Yeah.
different way to express than the words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't mean to ignore you, Miss Tomkins.
So
It's all about them.
It's
really
so
about them.
fun to listen to that. So would you say that is your philosophy as an art teacher as well? To take risks, to not worry?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that I'm open enough for students to take those risks, and I don't want to be punitive, because you're not going to learn unless you try. And I don't really believe in failures. Because I always tell my students, it's like if they do something in their composition that they didn't really plan for, it's like make it work. And, you know, art is just, you know, a long process of just solving problems visually.
Right. I mean, make it work or look at it and learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could say, you know, half the time as an artist, at least for myself, you would do it and say, well, that didn't work. You
And
know,
then you might discover something that's better than what you'd planned.
Exactly. I remember I painted a set once and it was for a show, Anything Goes, which was not that exciting of a show. And I painted it white and I was like, oh, wow, that is an iceberg. That is a whole iceberg on the stage. And that's not what I was looking for. And then, you know, I had a student who was like, yes, but he's like, what if we do this? And went up and took a picture of it or drew it out and started drawing all these things he wanted to add to it. And he's like, so it's not an iceberg anymore.
Yeah.
And it was great to have, honestly, a student come back to me and say, here is what we've learned from this. I've also painted sets awful colors. So I put it on, I turned on the lights. I was like, wow, that was a choice and not a good one. So I'm going to go buy some new paint. So, you know, sometimes you work with it and grow, and sometimes, you know, it's not going to work and you move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about, I'll start with you. Tell me about do you have a favorite piece you've worked on, like a secret favorite piece?
Secret favorite piece.
You don't have to name it or tell anybody what it is.
I
Just
think-
picture it in your head.
I think it's a piece that I finished on Friday, actually. I think that's my favorite. It's like a teapot set made of charcoal, and
So-
it took me forever.
So what about it do you love?
Maybe how complex it was and the process of making it.
So what did you learn?
That I should stop being perfect and just admire the progress that I've made.
So what makes it your favorite piece then?
Not too sure.
Okay. I mean, sometimes we're not sure. We just love it. Sometimes we're proud of what we were able to accomplish because we didn't know it was there until it's there in front of us.
Yeah.
How about you? You got a favorite piece?
I'm trying to think. Not exactly a favorite, but I think it was the reflection drawing I did with graphite last year because I learned a lot more because I had fallen back on my skills as an artist in realism, and so it helped me like gain more skill in that area, and so I appreciate it the most out of all my art.
Yeah. I think that's important to stretch yourselves in the arts that are not in your comfort zone to see how they inform the art that is in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, it's we have a artist. It's a V-Meister artist in residence. So it's an artist that is just beginning their career, and she's a mosaic artist and a painter. And she talked to me and she's like, I think I really want to take clay. I want to learn how to throw on the pottery wheel. And I was like, that sounds great. Why? And she's like, because I think I will better understand what I'm painting if I have to work with it in 3D first.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a smart, introspective way to look at that. And I feel like both of you were kind of saying that, like you're learning from other things and bringing it to the table when you create a new thing. I love that. So as an artist, what is your favorite, like, element to play with? Like, do you love to play with lines, color, texture? What do you like to play with?
Sadly, it is color, which is like the worst, once again, my worst area. I love colors so much because
But that's why you play with it.
yeah, like it speaks so much to the emotions and to like the tone of the painting, and that's why I'm just like always trying to at home like work with it so that I can actually put it into like serious art because it's so important to
Color
like, a
and
piece.
color is so complex. And every time you think you have color figured out, you just don't have color figured out. How about you? What's your favorite element to manipulate a little bit?
I'd also say color. I also suck at it, I think. I just sometimes can't get the color right, but we all make mistakes. Yeah.
I love that both of you said that you love to play with color, but when we talk about your favorite artworks, they were all graphite and black and white. I'm going to encourage you. Leap into the color, jump into it, play with it, put it on the paper, put it on a project, see what happens. The worst that you have to do is cover it up, right?
Yeah.
Right. So before I transition a little bit more into theoretical stuff, what would you say has influenced your own artistic journey so far? I know it's a new journey. It's an early journey for you, but what has affected that journey the most?
I feel like you'd hear this a lot with teens. Anime. Honestly. Like
Underrated.
yeah. I'm gonna be so real. Like if you look past that, like the way it affects the culture, if you look at the animation and the skill that it takes to make the characters act how they are and to like be on that line of reality and fiction, it's so interesting to me and I want to be able to like be skilled enough to have that, like be on that line.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
As I previously said, I think my health issues.
Okay.
It allows me to connect with people and allows to show other people, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Right.
Maybe you can connect with me.
Right. And it's hard to say how you feel, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to show how you feel.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to talk about just like art education in general, because, you know, arts has been under fire for a while in schools. You know, it's not the core, it's not reading, it's not writing, it's not math, it's not science. Why do you two as art students believe that art is important in schools?
Because for me personally, it taught me a lot of empathy because of how much you have to really read into every piece you're looking at. You have to really understand where the original artist was, where you as a viewer are, and like how this may affect the culture around them. So it's like you have to be very empathetic to understand and do art.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it gives like a creative and emotional outlet for students and people, and how they can understand each other. And it also gives like some sort of freedom, like, hey, you can create anything. And as long as you put your mind into it, and it's like a tool to help you discover yourself further.
I love the teachers and us are loving part of this because we're seeing the whole range right now. Like there is definitely comprehension, but there is also analysis. There's evaluation. You're synthesizing multiple parts of your world and trying to put them together into one communicative piece. Those are the skills at the end of the day that we need human beings to have. Like, yes, I need people to know how to do math, but I also need them to know how to communicate.
Yeah.
And so I think that, for me is one of those really important parts. Let's shift the gears to the teacher. I know. Why, you are an art teacher, so this is a biased answer, but why do you think art is important in schools?
Oh, for a myriad of reasons. I think that it's an emotional release. I think that, art has been, important to humanity for thousands of years. Our first evidence of prehistory was not in written form, so it was in visual form. And so that's something that's unique to humans versus animals is, our art. So that's something that should be celebrated and studied and continue to be researched and practiced.
It's sometimes easy as a teacher to feel lost or forgotten. Sometimes, you sit through sometimes these data analysis workshops and you're like, that doesn't really apply to me. So, how do you find that balance of, there are some people who would view, and I've heard this from my own experience, that I didn't teach a real subject. The theater wasn't a real subject. And I'm sure that there is somebody out there who thought, well, art's not really a real subject, but it's a very real subject. How do you respond to that?
Well, art taps into one of the 7 intelligences. And so that was first purported by this artist named Howard Gardner. So this is like in the early 1980s in his book, Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligences. So many schools just focus on verbal linguistic and mathematical spatial, but there's actually 5 more. So art hones in on the visual. And so this is, one of the ways not only that we learn, but also the methods that we grow in, that we can exercise students' brains in. And art also taps into different ways of knowing. So you have non-discursive and discursive knowledge. So non-discursive knowledge is nonlinear. And so this is a universal knowing that comprises feeling and content. And much of our understanding, learning, and appreciating of art involves non-discursive knowledge. So that is something that anybody can relate to. So if people are listening to the Ode to Joy by Beethoven, it doesn't matter what culture that you're coming from or what language you speak, everybody's going to be affected by it and they're going to be exalted by it.
Yeah. Yeah. And art has this weird thing where it just moves us sometimes.
Yeah.
That is, one of the things that today was the first day I got to really take a very strong look at the exhibit. Mostly because I was, working out all the forms and getting everything ready. So I was just kind of going through and exploring piece by piece. And I'm not going to lie, there are some pieces that make me feel lots of things. And I'm especially happy again to see that those are high school student pieces. And I'm also happy to say, and I don't even know if you know this story, the very first piece I bought from the Bauer Center was from a high school art show. It wasn't for sale. However, I knew the teacher and I said, hey, I want you to ask this kid, would they sell me this painting if I bought it? And so she put me in contact with the student. I asked how much she would like for her painting, and she said $75. And I responded back that I would pay her no less than $200, and I need her to learn to price her art better.
Good for you.
And so, it moved me enough. Like the middle school piece, if it was for sale, that croissant would be in my kitchen. This piece is in my house because, as I said, it just brought me joy. And I hope, this is my hope for anybody who comes and sees this show in the next 2 weeks, is that they really take some time with the pieces, that they stop, they examine, they try to piece together your story, they try to piece together their own story and how that story fits together, and be moved by the pieces, because there are many, many pieces there that are very moving.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to the teachers. That's a compliment to the students and the artists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I cannot praise this show highly enough.
Yeah, and I've noticed, like, over the years since I've been teaching, that students' artistic skill and intelligence has increased just exponentially. And I do think that goes back to the anime, because ever since students have had access to the internet and they see all these visual forms, so whether it's videos or just practicing like different cartoons and anime, they come into Art 1 and Art 2 with really high skills that they didn't used to have. So it helps them with proportion, with contour line, etc. And but I have a lot of people who remark about, they're like, wow, we can't believe that these are high school students that do this work. And they're incredibly skilled. I mean, some of them are already at a professional level. And also, I think the benefit of being a teenager or in high school when you're young is that you're willing to take those risks. And so they're willing to really push themselves and go out there and do it where other people would be hesitant.
Yeah.
And because they're willing to take that risk, it gives them that extra edge.
And they live such interesting stories right now.
Yeah.
There's something, it's a scary part when you get older, as you realize that your world shrinks much smaller. And I never really experienced that because I went straight from school to being a teacher. And so my world was always big and large. And then I stepped out of the teaching world and I realized how narrow my world had gotten and how narrow my frame of reference of story and experience had gotten. And you're at a perfect time to collect all of these stories and perspectives and ideas that I think that maybe we forget about until it's gone.
Yeah, it's like hosting, like five art parties every day.
Yeah.
And so I get to work with all of my students and I learn from them, and I walk around the classroom and I look at what they're doing and give them advice, but I also ask them questions. And so that stimulates me, and I learn as much from them. They might say, oh, I went to this museum, or, I went to this college and saw this. And so it's so fun and inspiring to me.
Yeah. What do you two think art teaches you that other subjects don't?
I feel like analysis I've learned more in art than in English, ironically, because I have to, like, we have this thing for our assignment where we have to, like, say what we feel and, like, why, when we're, like, writing the research part, why this person might have made this painting. So, like, when I'm, like, trying to really write down a whole paragraph or, like, a whole few paragraphs of how I feel, I'm just like, okay, so this is why I feel this way, because they did this stroke of black on their painting. So it's like really trying to analyze what's happening here.
Right. It really makes you look at it. It makes you think about the motion, makes you think about the pressure. It makes you think about every choice that you make as an artist, because your lines are not accidental. Your color choices are not accidental. Neither were theirs.
Yeah.
And so it is fun to put yourself in that ideal of like, why did they do that? How did they do that?
Yeah.
And then how can I do that? Right?
Yeah.
So why do you think, I jumped here. So how would you say over the last several years, you've seen your students change because of art?
Well, and I think especially since after COVID, I had a lot of students who were very introverted. Students were wearing masks 5 years ago when we were coming out of COVID. And I think some of them were very affected by it. And when you come into art, you're not just sitting there facing the front like you would in another classroom. You're sitting at tables. So you're facing like other students. And then when we started taking the masks off, it's like I think that students really enjoyed the community, the socialization. So I've seen some students really come out of their shells. And then I have some students where art is really like their only skill or the only thing that they really identify with. And so that's really their only reason that they come to school is for both, to be able to do the projects using their skill and also for the community that they have in the art room.
Yeah, it is the one class in school where you encourage to make a mess. And as long as you keep it under control, you're encouraged to have a conversation. And so many times I think we feel in school like little soldiers where we have to sit still, face forward, be quiet, and don't make a mess. And like it lets us dig into the whole opposite side of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is anybody working on anything? Here's the train. Is anybody working on anything that they're really excited about?
I'm finishing up a charcoal thing, and I was really upset about it for a quick moment because I was like, I do not like charcoal. And then I
But
started.
she's good at it.
I'm getting it now, and
I
so like,
couldn't keep my hand up. I was drug over
Yeah.
the charcoal.
but yeah, like now I'm getting it, and it's becoming more enjoyable.
Anything you're excited about?
I'm about to start my personal reflection with charcoal.
Okay.
I haven't started it yet because the projector isn't available.
Back to black and white. Both of you.
Yeah.
You love the color, but you're leaning on what you know.
Yeah.
What's exciting for you?
Right now, well, we're kind of at the end of the year, so I'm kind of winding down. And so my main focus right now is just, I'm so excited about this art show. It was so fun to put it together, package it all up and bring the students to the Bowers Center yesterday and to put it up. So I'm really excited about just seeing kind of the end result of all the work that we've done this year. But we still have projects that we're doing in all of my other art classes. And but I'm always excited about, like right now in 3D2 and Art 2, we are finishing up our anthropomorphic pots, which are these ceramic pots that have to feature human features.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lots of different results that come with that. So some of them choose colors, some of them don't. And it's fun to see them working with clay because a lot of them don't get a chance to work with clay.
Yeah, yeah. I want to back up something you mentioned that I meant to ask about and then I forgot. One thing that I love about this art show and the high school level specifically is watching you all come in and putting it up.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you as a teacher, why is that part important to you? That it's not you bringing their artwork and putting it up or you dropping their artwork and me putting it up, but it's them doing it. Why is that important?
Well, I think it's like it's the whole agency of making art. You know, so that's really like the final result. So, you know, the planning for the art, the executing the art, the matting, the framing, prepare it for exhibition, and then actually bring it and exhibit it. So I think that they can value the whole process more when they get to finish that final part of exhibiting. And that's really exciting. And it's exciting to see them all working together and with the other students and getting to meet the art teachers and coming together, you know, as a whole like art department in the school system.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, I mean, like I said, I was an English teacher. And so as a writer, you know, it's so hard because so many kids all the time just write for themselves always, or they write for the teacher only. You know, so I'm writing this paper and the only person that's ever going to read it is going to be my teacher or maybe my mom who I asked to proofread it once. But there is something much more authentic and invigorating about the fact that you're taking these pieces and publishing them to the world. Yeah. Like it's not just to your teacher, it's to anybody who wants to walk through those doors and anybody that wants to come by.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it can also be very vulnerable. So they're very brave to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was terrified to enter art shows because I also didn't think I was good enough. I would compare myself to the person next to me and be like, but mine doesn't look like his. And, you know, it took a really great art teacher that said, I'm so glad it doesn't look like his because I don't want carbon copies. I want individual. I want you in this piece, not what you think his version of your piece would be. And it was actually a really kind of eye-opening way for me to think about, like, I've got to engage it on myself. All right, I'm looking at my time. We could probably talk for another half hour if I wanted to.
This is cool. This is fun. This is fun.
So before we wrap up, I do love to ask just the question broadly. You know, we run an art center. Why is art important at all?
Okay, I wasn't trying to steal this from Miss Tomkins, but I said basically the same thing. It's like been with us since we've gained consciousness as humans. Like since the dawn of time, like we've had art with us, and it's like an expression of our community and our history. And like wherever corner you turn on this earth, you're gonna see art because you see it in our buildings, in our songs, in our like advertisements, and like in how we dress, like us as people. Like art's everywhere, so that's why it's like so important. That's why it's like I think it's like the top of the world.
I think you mentioned COVID, and that's what we turned to during COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we were stuck with ourselves, we watched the movies, we listened to the music. All of a sudden, everybody learned how to crochet. You know, like we turned to the arts because we needed some outlet, and that was what we turned to when we were stuck the most. How about you? Why do you think art is important?
I think it's important because because it acts like a universal language for like the whole world and allows everyone to see and connect with different experiences, and it exposes like different perspectives for other people, and it allows us to understand the different communities and cultures, and it gives like a way to preserve the story of like humanity itself.
Yeah. How about for you? What you've got a different answer, I'm sure, just as more life experience and as a person who helps people consume the arts and produce the arts. Why do you think it's important?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to take an existential stance, and
Please
I think
do.
they're going to appreciate this. I think that art celebrates the individual, and I think it's the ultimate anti-AI. Okay, so as AI is starting to become more prolific, it's like art, I think, can give students the edge of being more competitive against it, to think outside the box. And it's, essentially we're souls inside of a body. And so this is something that we have that AI doesn't have. So is that very existential? It is. But
Yeah. I mean, because
Yeah.
AI can copy a whole lot of things, but it can't create anything.
it can't do that, right? So it
has no
doesn't have that
intention.
spark.
Right.
Doesn't have that spark of inspiration.
It doesn't. And, it's always going to look, to me, AI art's always going to look like AI art, because there's not, as you mentioned, there's just not a soul behind it. And you can't put your finger on why it's not there. It's
But you
just
can
not
feel it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Very uncanny.
exactly.
there we go.
So before we close up, anything that we didn't even touch this list.
Oh, that's okay. This is
Anything that we didn't talk about that you would love to talk about, that you'd love to bring up, share with the group, share with the world right now about art, about high school art, about this show?
There was one question on here.
Sure.
Where it was like, if you could collaborate with anyone
Oh, yeah.
and why? And I know this is not an artist, but he's a model, and he just looks like how you said about art can just like make you feel emotions like you wouldn't even think. And the way he expresses himself through clothing, it's like watching a live painting. And I would just love to be like, just paint him in real life. That would be awesome.
And fashion is most certainly art.
Yeah.
Very much art.
I'll also use that question.
Sure. Go right ahead.
It's my best friend. She does more abstract art, and I feel like if I could combine my method of like art realism and the abstract art, I feel like we could both create something beautiful. Maybe I could like dabble with abstract art because I don't really do that.
Yeah, my brain doesn't think abstract art very well.
Yeah.
Me neither.
I try, but it just doesn't do it very well. Is there anything else that anybody we had on the list, questions you want to talk about, things you want to mention?
You didn't ask about the mural.
Oh, the mural. Please tell me about the mural. You said
I'm
it and I
just
forgot.
joking. No, I thought that was so funny. It was the mural question. And so it was like, if you could design a mural that represents your generation, what would it look like? And so I was going to say that I'm a little bit older than most people think. So I'm, smack dab in the middle of Generation X. So my generation's mural would feature these things: a box of Apple Jacks cereal, the Flintstones cartoon characters, a Rubik's Cube, Star Wars, nuclear missiles with Soviet Union logos on them, Michael Jackson, Kurt Cobain, and Apple II computer. And then hovering over the whole thing would be a large disco ball. What do you think?
I think we're probably close to the same age
Okay.
because I literally understood all of that, and mine would be very similar.
Okay.
All right. I do want to thank Miss Tomkins, Sam, Mayah. Thank you so much for joining us today. As a reminder, the Bedford County Public School Art Show can be seen in our galleries this week and next week. We invite you all to stop by and check it out. Those galleries are going to be open on Wednesdays through Fridays from 1 until 6 and Saturdays from 11 till 3. If those times don't work for you, give me a call. We can make an appointment. I can get you in pretty much any time. This Friday, April 24th at 5 p.m. is going to be the awards reception for this exhibit. It is open to the public. It is free of charge. So we invite you to stop stop by, see the amazing talents of these students, but meet these students themselves from the Bedford County Public Schools. Plus, the Bauer Center for the Arts has a whole lot in store for you this summer. On May 16th, locals Win Creasy and C.W. Markham III will return to the stage, this time with their spring cabaret, Lovers and Other Strangers. On June 13th, with support from the Virginia Commission for the Arts, the Akela Simone Trio from Hampton Roads will be joining us for an evening of R&B, soul, and jazz. And then in July, we're going to bring back the Bluegrass Trio Virginia Hollow out of Floyd. All of our concerts begin at 6 p.m. Advance tickets are only $20. You can get them on our website or just by giving me a call. After the closing of this exhibit from May 7th until August 7th, we are super excited to partner with the National D-Day Memorial to bring you the life and art of Charles M. Schulz. It's a traveling exhibition. I can say that word. In addition to his Peanuts fame, many do not know that Charles Schulz was the Capitol campaign manager for the D-Day Memorial from 1998 until his death in 2000 right here in town. Our education schedule is full of all kinds of opportunities for kids and adults alike. We have 5 camps slated this summer, 4 for elementary students, 1 for middle and high school students. We have classes and workshops in painting, mosaics, clay, hopefully some stained glass coming here soon. We've got a lot. Check the website to see what we have. And so for more details on any of our classes, events, programs, exhibitions, you can visit bowercenter.org, follow us on social media, or you can just stop in and say hello. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, my guests, for being with me today, and we'll see you next time.